Hey guys, what's up? It's 8-Bit Eric. Today is going to be a review of Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challengers for the Nintendo Switch. Now, Street Fighter 2 came out a long time ago, like 26 years. I was very young, and it was one of the best games I've played in my life. It's truly one of my favorite video games of all time. And now, there is a brand new one on the Nintendo Switch. Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challengers, celebrates the 30th anniversary of the Street Fighter series. It features HD graphics that were featured in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix from 2008. Say that 5 times fast. So these HD graphics are very nice to look at. Sometimes they do look a little off. I'm not used to seeing hand-drawn sprites on my fighting games, but they are a pretty neat addition. There's also the ability to switch to the retro graphics and music of the original arcade game. These are tucked away in a menu from the title screen. It would have been nice to be able to switch from retro to HD with the touch of a button, just like Wonder Boy, the Dragon's Trap, did on the Nintendo Switch, but I can see why Capcom did it. There's online features on here, and that would just kind of be hard to, I guess, program for an online mode. But it would have been nice to have access to these a lot easier. This version also introduces 2 new characters to Street Fighter 2, evil Ryu and Violent Ken. Both are essentially overpowered versions of their regular counterparts, and they also have a few new evasive maneuvers, and they're much faster. With the Switch's portability hybrid mode, Street Fighter 2 is now portable. You can play your friends anywhere. You can throw down and say, hey, I'm gonna Blanca your ass right here at the school cafeteria, and that's sweet. This is a major selling point for Ultra Street Fighter 2. The ability to play anywhere, pull Joy-Con up, and challenge your buddies. Now, while it is nice, there is a couple of limitations as far as control goes. Now, if you're like me, you enjoy playing Street Fighter 2 with a 6-button layout, like on the Sega Genesis or in the arcade. The Super Nintendo, so much, didn't have that. It had the shoulder buttons for the heavies and the 4 face buttons. Now, on the Nintendo Switch, when you're playing with the Joy-Con, it's clearly missing a proper D-pad. That's one of the biggest complaints a lot of people have, and let's face it, the Switch seems like it was not made to handle fighting games. You could use these 4 face buttons on the left Joy-Con for a D-pad, but it doesn't transfer over well, and it even gets a lot worse when you're playing 2 players separately with the Joy-Con, because now you're limited to just using the analog stick, because these 4 buttons have to be your medium and light attacks, while these 2 up here are your heavies. And to be honest, it's quite uncomfortable controlling this for extended periods, which is why I believe the best controller for Ultra Street Fighter 2 is the Pro Controller. It plays like the classic Super Nintendo layout. Plays a little bit better. Hopefully when the Hori Fight Stick comes out, the 6-button layout on there will translate perfectly. So there are a couple different modes on Ultra Street Fighter 2. The first one is arcade mode. Yes, arcade mode is back, and it's pretty much the same as classic Street Fighter 2 action. You control one of the fighters, and you play about 8 fights before you get to M. Bison, and the rest is history. Funny, the Nintendo Switch Street Fighter 2 has an arcade mode, yet Street Fighter 5, over a year later, still doesn't. Just saying, Nintendo does what phony don't. Go ahead and flame me in the comments. I'm just kidding. I love Street Fighter 5, but for real, Ultra Street Fighter 2's arcade mode is classic action at its best. Of course, there's also a training mode, which is useful for practicing your combos and your special moves and stuff. If you want to get familiar with the way a character plays, you can play against a dummy opponent. There's also a nice art gallery that's in the main menu that features some concept art, and some of it's actually pretty badass with its original Japanese subtitling and everything. It's very neat to look at. If you're into that artsy-fartsy stuff, it's pretty legit. Now, exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, the Way of the Hado, or Way of the Warrior, I believe the translation is, you play in first-person mode as Ryu against some of M. Bison's special forces, and you basically use the Joy-Cons for motion control. You literally do this, do that. You have like 3 or 4 attacks. This could have been cool, but it just does not work right. Seriously, I did not know like how to do anything besides the Hadoukens, and you got to learn how to do combos. There are different modes. There's easy, medium, expert. There's endless different varieties of modes. There's like survival, there's stages, stuff like that. It's a nice little mini game. There is some experience points that upgrade Ryu's character in that and stuff, but I just can't stand the motion controls, to be quite honest. There is also Buddy Battle. Buddy Battle is where you fight 2 against 1. Basically, it's promoting bullying against an enemy opponent. You can do 2 players versus computer, or 1 player computer versus a computer. It's pretty fun, but it gets kind of chaotic on screen. It's kind of hard to see a lot of things that go on. You play through a few battles. It's a mode that is bare bones, but it's a nice little option that's there. Like, let's say you have a little kid that you want to play with and they suck and you don't want to pwn them. You play together. There is also a color editor, which is a nice feature. You could change the color of your characters. You can make them green. You can make a zombie Ryu. You can make everybody look like Blanca, and you could save it onto, you know, your sets. You get a certain amount of sets, and you can play these in versus, online, arcade mode. That's kind of neat. Now, there is a few things missing from this game. There's no bonus stages, which is weird. I really wanted to destroy some cars. There's also no speed modes. You can't like do the turbo. You can't make the characters really insanely fast. I would have liked to have some of the features from Street Fighter 2 Turbo put into this game, but they're kind of missing. There was no lag in the online play. The online play was amazing. I had a blast playing against a lot of random people online. It controlled well. It was pretty fair. I played against similarly ranked players, so there was no like outrageous curve online. You can also do friends only and stuff like that. So online, well simplified. It was easy enough to put certain rules and stuff to, you know, customize your online experience. And I really appreciated the fact that they got the online mode up rather quickly after launching this game. NBA Playgrounds, I'm looking at you. Overall, the game is pretty good. It's true to its original arcade form. The HD features are very nice. I think the game is a little bit more balanced than the HD remix game that came out in 2008. It seems like the hit detection is pretty good. Other than Violent Ken and Evil Ryu, which they seem a little bit overpowered, but their bars are a little bit smaller than the rest of the characters. Everything is pretty balanced and it feels pretty accurate, especially since Capcom pretty much program this whole entire game themselves instead of using another developer like they did for Remix. It basically takes everything that you liked out of the original game that came out back in the day and added an online mode and a motion capture mode, and it is a little bit pricey. Okay, so that is probably the controversial thing about it, is that it's $40 for a nearly 30-year-old game. Is it worth it? If you're a Street Fighter 2 fan, I definitely recommend it. It is worth it. It's basically, I mean, you probably already own all the iterations of Street Fighter 2 to begin with. I mean, when you bought Street Fighter Turbo and you had Street Fighter 2, you paid full price for that, right? So it's the same thing. I guess it's different since it's 30 years later, but this is an excellent game in my opinion. It's very solid. I think I would give Street Fighter 2, the Final Challengers Ultra, got it mixed up, a 8 out of 10. Online mode was a plus for me. That was one major reason why I got it. The ability to switch the graphics, awesome. The main complaints I have about it is the controls. If you don't have a D-pad, it's not going to be a good time. And the price could be a little iffy. You might want to wait for it to go on sale. That might happen. If you're not super into Street Fighter 2, I guess you could wait or play all the other Neo Geo games that are available, that are fighting games as well. But I'm not going to knock the game. I've seen people saying that this game really doesn't offer much. If it's not broken, why fix it? You know what I mean? Sure, for the 30th anniversary, they could have gone a little bit above and beyond. Capcom did play it safe with Ultra Street Fighter 2. And well, guys, that is it for the review. Thanks a lot for watching. Hadouken!